Hi, and welcome to another Build a Healthier Life podcast. I'm Kevin Mullen. We're here to help our listeners become more aware of the hazards that lurk inside our homes through the materials used in the construction process of our homes, understanding some of the risks with the beauty and cleaning products we use in our lives, and the risks in some of the food that we consume. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Bruce Mullen, my brother. Well, before you turn this off and say, I don't want to listen to this guy's brother, you need to hear his story and his health journey. Bruce is a fellow Canadian, a loving father of 2 children, an entrepreneur, had worked hard as a great leader in the transportation and oil field business for over 30 years, and who had retired to Victoria with his loving wife, Charlene, and daughter. After a tragic loss of his wife to breast cancer, Bruce re-entered the business world to create an organic retail food business that was to affect change in people through his brand, Jusu. His wife, Charlene, had always been focused on a healthy lifestyle of ensuring that she was eating healthy food, juicing, and engaging in exercise. And this business was a loving husband's way to honor her and another way for Charlene to continue her legacy to touch and bring life to others. Bruce is now trying to help anyone that will listen to his story and communicate that the chemicals that we put in our bodies, on our bodies, and in our homes is the single most dangerous thing you can do to your family. Bruce, welcome to Build a Healthier Life. And we're looking forward to having you share your story and your journey and a message with our listeners.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for inviting me. This is my first podcast, so I'm very excited to be a part of it. I've known you all your life, so we've gone through a lot together. We've done we've built a family business up through the years. I had one job in my life with the Mullen Group, which I enjoyed immensely. There's a few things that happen in your lifetime that change the direction of your life. And that's happened to me twice. It doesn't happen very often in your lifetime, but it does happen that if something changes, it changes the direction of your life. So that happened to me 3 times. Once I decided to work with my father and brothers to work in the transportation logistics oil field business as a young man, and then as you said that my wife Charlene passed away from breast cancer, so that changed my life again. So it doesn't happen very often in your lifetime. So, but it definitely, if this doesn't happen, this stays the same. But if this happens, it changes. And, and nowadays, you need to be able to recognize those events in your lifetime that makes those meaningful changes. So you can decide as a young man or a woman or a person, but it only happens a few times in your life.
So Bruce, maybe you can share with people, obviously you just shared that you lost your wife, Charlene, but can you share why and how you started on this health journey, I guess, in terms of moving towards organic food and stuff, how that happened?
Well, I want to go back a little bit just to my history, just a brief history lesson here. So when I was a young man, all I ever wanted to do was drive a truck. So I got my class 1 license when I was 18, and I drove a truck for my dad, and it was truck number 4. Then he came to me one day and he said, look, you better buy your own truck because you keep wrecking mine. So in 1978, I bought my first Kenworth, and it was truck number 7. And then I worked with my brothers and my father for my whole business life, basically. And when we ended up going public in 93, very successful company. We grew our business. We worked extremely hard. We did everything honestly, ethically, the best of our ability. And we always looked in the mirror every day and said, we're going to do the best we can. It might not work out that day. We're going to have lots of setbacks, but we're going to do the best we can. And that's how we ran our business. That's how we ran our lives. And then after a long career at Mullen, my brother was my boss, Murray. And he basically came to me and said, look, if you're going to pretend to work, I'm going to pretend to pay you. So I said, fair enough. I'm sick of this anyway. And that's where we moved to Victoria. So that changed the direction of our life. I got out of the business, the day-to-day business world, and in that traffic high traffic lane, and we decided to do something different. And then when we were out there only just for a year, then she was 47, young, beautiful. And she got diagnosed with, found a lump on her breast, and got it checked out, and it turned out to be a triple negative breast cancer. No, we didn't know what that was. We didn't know what chemo was. We didn't know radiation. We didn't know. We're like many Canadians and many people around the world. You're terrified because you don't know. It's somebody else's problem. But guess what? It's not somebody else's problem. It's your problem. So we didn't know the difference between chemo and radiation, but we found out. Chemo is chemical therapy. Chemicals. So when we found this out, we went through our whole household. And radiation is obviously radiation. It's like directed at cancer cells, and then surgery. Everyone knows what that is. So they came to us and said, "Here's the deal. Your survival rate is 50% for surgery, 35% if chemo works, and 10% for radiation as mop-up." So we didn't know all this stuff, but we researched it. We went through our household, in our pantries, what we were eating, everything, and we found out that we are eating all these chemical foods, processed foods. All of our cleaning products, all of the makeup, all of our the Dove soap. So all these products that we were using in our household, that we were putting in our bodies. The government said it was all good, and so we just did what we're like everybody else. We just bought what we wanted to buy, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out at all because I was feeding my family and myself chemo every single day, destroying your immune system. And we also found out that your immune system is your white blood cells. And your white blood cells do not come from Google or eBay or Amazon. They come from your bone marrow. And once your immune system's compromised, you won't survive. Now, they might be able to keep you alive down the street, with the medical system, maybe, but you won't, but you can't live. So these are the hard lessons that we learned. And we worked at it 7 days a week. Like now I had a really busy job. And she had a double mastectomy, chemo that didn't work, poisoned her, destroyed her immune system. They radiated her till hell wouldn't have it. Burnt her breast right through to her back. That didn't work. So we exhausted everything. We went to Switzerland for alternative medicines to try to rebuild her immune system. That didn't work. We got rebaptized. We went to Holy Rollers. Like we were up against it. We didn't care. We were fighting a battle. And every time we went to the cancer center, we got bad news. Not good news. We got bad news every time. And every single time it was worse. So I was in the prevention business my whole life, in the transportation logistics. It was actually quite simple. We take something from point A to point B, and our whole goal on every single thing we did was that nobody gets hurt and nothing gets damaged, and hopefully we get paid. That was the whole deal. So I was in the prevention business, and now I'm in the prevention business again. I think that our medical system is based on reaction, not prevention. No. We don't have a minister of health. We have a minister of medication. And it should be evident to everyone today that's going through this pandemic that if you have a weak immune system, you are putting you and your family at a tremendous disadvantage. So we need to do whatever we can for the three fundamentals. And this is why it's so important what Kevin's doing in his business, is that we need to protect our family. It's our number one job. We need to protect our home, where we reside, not just where we live, but where we reside, where we're at, which is most important, especially today in this pandemic. And we need to protect the environment. Why do we want to keep dumping all these chemicals into our rivers, lakes, and oceans? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So just the three fundamentals, and it's very hard for people to do because the big advertisers, mostly from the U.S., they're very, very good at telling people what they need. They make it look good. They make it taste good. They have long shelf lives. They got high yields, more per square foot, more per acre. That's their whole goal. The only problem is, and they achieve those goals, they got crops that'll grow as high as your house. They've got all kinds of corn syrups and all kinds of chemicals they can put in your food and everything else. And we're just dumping all this Clorox and all these chemicals into our lakes, rivers, and oceans. All these chemicals are made in the Midwest by these through the corn lobby. Now they achieve yield and shelf life. The problem is it shortens your shelf life. That's the problem. So we'll just go back to how Grandma and Grandpa used to do it. I mean, our family, Kevin, as you well know, I mean, our grandparents, great-grandparents, even our parents, I mean, the young people, they checked out at 95. We're buying at 50. That's the reality. And there's a lot of people in the same situation. And people are getting evaporated every day because they have weak immune systems. It's most critical. And just running around the block and getting in great shape, that's not good enough because your cells have to be fed with proper nutrition, not chemicals. Your body's not set up to manage the chemicals. So that's basically my story. That's why I'm doing it. I'm in the prevention business. I think it's most critical. It's too late for Charlene, probably too late for me, but it's not too late for my family.
Yeah, so maybe that's a good transition, Bruce, to say, you're in the prevention business, and then you went along and you went and opened this business called Jusu. Maybe talk a little bit about that, and then why you were doing that and how you got into that.
Yeah, so what I was basically after Charlene passed away, and then on the anniversary date of her first funeral, I got diagnosed with prostate cancer. So how's your day going? Not good. So you get into real depression. And so I didn't know what a urologist was, but I found out. And I said, well, I've got to have the surgery. I just went through this movie. They said, well, we got to do CT scans and tests and all that. I said, well, what does it matter? We have to take it out. Surgery first. That's it. Number one. So I got through that. And I was basically moping around, laying on the couch, and my son Brandon was just going to business school. And he said, Dad, you can't just lay on the couch here and cry over Charlene's picture. You have to do something. You built companies, you know how to run a business, you have to do something. Go on a board or two or something. So I decided that I would, me and Brandon drove around Victoria where we were living at that time. And I said, why don't we start a company from an idea and see if we can make something out of it, and see if we can get it through, the startup stage to open a few businesses and try to get it into a public company. Well, all those stages, what it would take to do all that. And that was the goal. And how can we help people at the same time so they don't go through the same life-changing events that our families went through? If we can help people and we can learn a little bit about business and see if we can get into a public company so we can really spread the word, then to me, that wouldn't be a bad idea. So that's what we did. So we started with a company called Jusu. Jusu means juice in Japanese. Excuse me. Started with one store in Victoria, and we built the company out to being in the juice business. And then we had pulp left over. We have all these young entrepreneurs came to me and said, I can make cheesecake out of the pulp. I can make skincare products out of the pulp. I can make cleaning products out of what would normally be waste. So we were sending stuff to Waste Management. Now also we started making products that fed your body, fed your skin, and and then eventually ended up with a whole home cleaning product line. So get the chemicals out of your cleaning products. I mean, it's just not working. The chemical business is not working. If you think drinking Clorox is going to make you healthy, you're good. Don't worry about a thing. You're golden. I don't think it's going to work. And don't stop dumping it in the ocean. in the rivers and lakes. That's not working either.
So who was the target market, I guess, Bruce, for Jusu in your mind? Like what was the age group that when you started this business that you thought it would be for?
Well, we did a bunch of, week surveys. We just went to juice bars and health places that, I didn't think that the U.S. fast food businesses are places of health. I didn't want my kids eating at all these hamburger joints and with all these processed foods. It's not good for you. It's cheap. It's not good. No wonder they have to have their own cancer houses to help families out because they know what's coming. So I didn't want to do that. We wanted to get people back to the basics of life. And when we did that, we went and said, well, who's coming in? Well, it was young mothers with their young babies to try to get them so they were built their immune systems, make them nice and strong. So started at an early age. We had people who were right into the health and wellness business, some that were that wanted to take health a little more seriously, some that were having trouble with weight loss, that just had no energy at all. And then some were, had some serious health problems, health scares, like guys like me who said, holy smokes, this is whatever I was doing before is not working out. So I'm going to have to change my behaviors, and I have to do it now or you won't survive. It's just the way it is. So we ended up having, at least in my own mind to begin with, is that that people who are in any age group that they're into the wellness movement, and that movement's growing today exponentially. It's still going. It's not going to go back. The plant-based movement is real. The health and wellness business is real. The smoking business was a big business back, in the early 60s and 70s, even farther in. But all the good smokers are dead. They didn't make it. Wasn't good for you. So I looked at a deal at a company that would target it. It's not that easy because, organic products are a little bit more expensive, at least at the beginning. And until you learn to manage your supply chain properly and deliver products that, your cost of goods are higher than where you'd go to, like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or even a Starbucks. I mean, it's all U.S. companies that are just pouring the chemicals to our citizens. I don't think it's right.
And what did you, obviously you were at your store a lot in Victoria and you ended up talking to lots of people. Were there some stories that you heard from people on the front lines of how Jusu helped them or changed them?
Well, I'll give you one story. There's a girl came into our store at Caddy Bay. It was our first store. And not because it was strategic, it was because it was close to my house. So she came in, and she was probably in her 20s, mid to late 20s, obviously taking chemo, I didn't say anything that day to her. And she left, and my store manager, Laura, said, oh yeah, she comes in here every day. She just loves Jusu. She's taking chemo. She's got, ovarian cancer. And she comes in every day to buy juices and smoothies and berry bowls. So I told Laura, I said, here's my credit card. I want you, next time she comes in, give her one of our gift cards and just say thanks, and thanks for being so brave in that. So fast forward, about 3 years later, I'm in our store at Oak Bay, and this lady walks in, she's got a young baby, and it was her. And she comes up to me and says, Bruce, I'm not supposed to have this baby. And I believe that what you're doing helped me get this child. Cancer survivor. And she had her baby. So, when you think business is tough, think about how tough it is for them and how happy they are that, you can change your life by feeding your cells, not destroying them. It's a fundamental. The pyramid of poison started in the late 50s, early 60s, and we got to get out of it.
That's a pretty strong story. Was there any other great stories that you might want to share with some of the listeners? That's a pretty emotional story.
Well, it was really emotional. You know, when Charlene got sick, we made her a juice and smoothie every single day until she passed away. And so we bought a Norwalk for cold pressed juicing, and we experimented with that. We had carrots and beets and crap all over the house. We didn't, it made a hell of a mess. But what it was good for her, because it fed her, it gave her body a rest to feed her skin and to feed her body, because she needed that, because she was on these tremendous chemicals, drugs, and you feel terrible all the time. So when other people came in and they would be buying smoothie bowls and juices and taking to people that were in the hospital, because I don't know if you know it or not, the hospital food is chemical food. The first thing you walk in to one of these hospitals is a Tim Hortons. Guess what? That's all processed foods. It's not health food. I don't care how much advertising they use. It's not health food. So they would come in and they would buy all kinds of stuff to take to people who are in the hospital, just so they could get nourishment. You need to be fueled up. You don't want to be filled up. And we had all kinds of people all the time coming in. Our biggest growth group was basically, if you wanted to say who is your biggest client base, I would say the Lululemon crowd. Because Lululemon's done a great job on getting people off the couch and making them look good, making them feel better. And I think that if you do organic, healthy eating and healthy skincare products, you're going to look better in those Lululemons, and they might fit better.
That's so. After that, you started with the organic food store, Jusu, and then you talked a little bit about taking the byproduct and then moving it into other areas. And how did that, how did you evolve into that? And what was the response from the people that came into the store as well?
Well, I used to carry around a bunch of cash in my pockets in the old days before all, I don't know. I just used, from old school, I used to carry around cash. So I would have these young people come and come to me and say, or to some of our store people and say, I can make something out of that, those byproducts here. So can I have some of that pulp from this juice, or can I have some pulp from this, or can I have pulp from that? Sure. What do you need? Well, I need a dehydrator. Well, how much is that? Oh, it's about $250, $300. Boom, boom, boom. I'll give them $300. I need a little bit for packaging, and okay, here's another 50 or 100, and then I don't have any money for the bus ride home. Okay, here's another 50. So once I started doing that word got around, and I'd have all these people come up to me and say, hey, I can make skincare products. I can make clean products. I can make all kinds of products. I can do wraps out of the pulp. I can make dog biscuits out of the pulp. So I stopped carrying hundreds around because they were going too fast. And then I got down to 50s, but they went just as fast. But that triggered all these young entrepreneurs and others to say, I can build something that you're throwing away that we can. It's good for your body. I mean, Mother Nature put all these peels on oranges and lemons and apples and all these other things to protect the fruit. That's what they did. So there's all kinds of nutrition in all of the byproducts, which we used, which ended up, we started a company called Jusu Body out of it, which is all natural. They were food grade skincare products. And then we worked with a lady that had a plant-based cleaning line, ended up buying 50% of that, then ultimately all of it. And then that was called Jusu Life. So we looked after your body, your body, your baby, your home, your skin. So that's what we have Jusu, bar, body, and home now. Look after your home, look after your body, feed your body. And that's how we ended up doing it.
Yeah. So what would you, you know, looking back now, if you're looking back at you're 40 years old, what would you tell your 40-year-old self from what you know today?
Well, you know, when I was in trucking business in the late 70s and 80s, I mean, I was everybody smoked, like everybody. You know, so I started smoking. I didn't start smoking until I was like, I mean, maybe 30. But I smoked, and you used to be able to smoke in the office at that time. You remember you used to smoke in an airplane. Hey, sit in these back seats here. You won't get too much smoke on you. But all those people are dead, you know, or really sick. I would say that would help me is that my lifestyle and, you know, smoking too much, drinking too much, eating, you know, what I call Calgary food, you know, steak, baked potato, corn on the cob, Crown Royal, red wine is not a good diet. So, you know, my son, he doesn't drink at all. He doesn't smoke. He's completely healthy. My daughter Caitlin is the same. We do whatever we can to have healthy or organic foods way more readily available today. And when you eat healthy, you don't eat as much because the chemical guys figured out how to make you hungry all the time. That's what they do. They put the processed sugars in you that trick you into that you need to eat more. And it's a cycle. You know, I don't know if people know it or not, but, you know, this corn syrup that Coca-Cola and all these guys put into all kinds of their products and stuff like that, they haul that corn syrup around on the rail in the same containers built to haul crude oil. So what does that tell you? You know, when I was a young truck driver, I used to haul a product called anhydrous ammonia. You may not know what that is. And it's a fertilizer, a liquid fertilizer. In those days, there was no safety precautions. They just said, hey, don't get in that hands. Your hands will disappear. But what it does, they spray it on the farmers' fields when the crops are quite young. It sucks the moisture out of the ground and the crops grow like crazy, you know, because the moisture is deep in the earth, it's not raining when it's supposed to. And the crops grow as high as your house, but it's full of chemicals. And that's what goes into your flour, that goes into all these products, all these cereals, the whole gang that people are just plowing down. Long shelf life, lots of yield, more per square foot, more per acre. Just your shelf life gets extremely shorter and you don't even know it. Chemical therapy, chemo. Stop feeding your family chemicals. It's most critical. That's the biggest thing I've learned in my life.
Do you think you would have listened to yourself, listened to that at 40 years old? Do you think you might have listened to that advice and cut back on, I guess, the crown and potatoes and the steak and stuff? Or
you know what? My hearing's good, but my listening's terrible. It's tough to change. You know, I mean, it's most difficult to change. I mean, everything is, but you know, you have to decide. Do you want to survive? Do you want to have a healthy lifestyle? Do you want to have the best life that you can possibly do? Like our parents, as you know, Kevin, they moved heaven and earth to give us the opportunity to have the best life that we could possibly have. And they still do today in their late 80s. You know, they still do today. That's their number one job, to make sure that their kids and their grandkids have the best opportunities they can in their lives. And that is a role model for every single citizen in this country.
I 100% agree. They have sacrificed so much for us and for their friends and employees and not just for their kids, like you said, but for their grandkids. I wrote this down. I remember one time we were sitting in Palm Springs and I was showing Charlene a picture, and she said, "Your camera takes good pictures." And I said, "Oh, okay, thanks." And then she, began to make supper, and she made this, great supper. And I said, "Your pots and pans make great food." And I think, at the end of the day, it was, you can be given the tools, but it's what you do with them to make great things from them that's really the most important. And so this is one of those tools that, and learning from, your experience and going through the medical system, creating a business that is there to help people, hopefully that they can learn from your words today and your inspiration, so that they can actually, make the changes, understand why they need to make the changes, and then move forward. So what's the one thing, I guess, that you would tell our listeners to do that you've learned over this last few years of your health journeys, not just Charlene's, but your own health journey, that you think is the most important for them?
Well, there's one of the guys that most people know, not a lot of the younger people, but in President Kennedy poached a guy by the name of Robert McNamara to be the Secretary of Defense, and he ended up ultimately running the Vietnam War under President Johnson. But before that, he was at the Ford Motor Company, and he was in charge of all Ford Motor products. He was right underneath Henry Ford #2. He introduced seat belts in the 1956 Falcon. He said, we couldn't get anyone to wear seat belts, but the ones that did saved their lives. And I believe we can't get people to eat healthy. We can't even get them to wear a mask, but the ones that do will save their lives. That's what I believe.
That's a good analogy. Thanks very much, Bruce. So thanks. Is there anything else that you'd want to share with people that, from before we wrap this up? Is there anything else that you have thoughts on?
We took it from an idea, the Jusu bar, from an idea through a tragic event in our lifetime, and we ended up selling the assets into a public company on the venture exchange called Better Plant Science. It's all plant based. They've got a nice suite of products. They've got so we ended up into a public company, which we set out to do. We're on the venture exchange, a Canadian company, doing good work for Canadians, and we implore all of our employees, our stakeholders, our shareholders, do the best you can to protect your family, protect your home, and to protect the environment. Do the best you can, because when you wake up in the morning, you're going to wake up only two ways. This is going to be a good day, or it's going to be a struggle. And I've been on both sides. And I can tell you, when you wake up in the morning, your feet hit the ground, and it's a good day, everybody knows it. And if you wake up in the morning and say it's going to be a struggle today, guess what? Everybody knows it. So wake up in the morning. This is going to be a good day. I'm going to help my family. I'm going to help my fellow citizens. I'm going to help my community. And I'm going to help my country.
That's great words of advice, Bruce. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today on Build a Healthier Life. And, I know that there's lots of words of wisdom in there for not only myself and my eating habits, which might not be far from yours when you're in your 30s and 40s, but definitely trying to do better, live a healthier life, understanding the risks that are in the products that we're using, both in our houses, on our bodies, in our cleaning products, and in the food we eat, which you shared today, is really going to be able to help people build a healthier life. So thank you for joining us. If you like this podcast, share it with your friends, let them know about it. And Bruce, thanks again for joining me.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Take care.